Okay, I think we're live, so we will hang out for a couple minutes and see where we go. There we are. So this week, Mikey and I are back. We're going to go over, first we're going to go over the highlights of our last Wednesday accountability call. And that was, you remember the date?
That was the 15th.
October 15th of 2025. Okay. So again, we had quite a few people jump on with us this past week. We started with 20. I think the high point was 26. And we did have Mark Simon joined us that night because he tries to jump in every couple months to talk about he's a lender. He's with Nexa Mortgage and one of the biggest lenders in the country, right? He's in Pennsylvania, I believe.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so it was nice of him to jump on. It's late for him when we get started with our call. But he was talking about some DSCR products that have come out recently, talking about current conditions in the market, and a few people had questions for him that night. I think, they were kind of general questions, talking about basic scenarios for refinancing, wondering if you could refinance a paid off property if it's in an LLC through DSCR, things like that. And he was able to give some general information, but as I was talking to the group that night too, I was urging them to give him a call, and he welcomes all the calls because everybody's situation is different, right? Even like he mentioned, even if you're in the same town buying the same thing, your positions are different, right? Not everybody has the same credit score or um, same reserves, different things like that. So everybody should give him a call. Hopefully, I think we'll be able to put his information in the show notes. But you've worked with Mark before. What do you think about him and the help he's provided for you?
I like his availability. I can message him, email him, call him. When I did a rate and term refi, it was a couple of days before the Fed meeting. I think I called him on a Saturday. I said, what do you think of this one? Is it possible that we ran the numbers? He was working that Saturday, that Sunday, and that Monday. I think he finally got all the docs on that the day before the meeting, and then we were able to lock the rate just in time. So that's why I really like Mark, because you can just reach out to him, and I asked him, does he ever take vacations? Because I think he's always working. Whenever I check on him, even Sundays too. So I think Sundays he'll maybe half a day, but he's always doing something with lending.
Yeah, in fact, he's trying to help us right now. Cynthia and I doing a HELOC on our primary. I have to send him our taxes, but um, like he was talking about all the different options, all the different people he has available for different scenarios. So in our case, he had like three or four thoughts when I first approached him on getting the HELOC for us. But again, our situation is different, right? Because Cynthia is started taking Social Security and she's working part time. So our income won't change that much, but just the fact that she's part time now might make a difference. So there were two people that he knocked off right away. And so the third option is the one we're working with now, or working towards now, I should say. So hopefully we'll be able to get that through this time. We've been at it for what, 6 months now, trying to get that done with different lenders. And some of the lenders kind of just send you a link, and it's once you start that, it's all kind of automated. Um, so it's hard to get a real person on the line. You just input all your information, and if anything doesn't jive, they just kick it back as they can't help you or they don't have any options for you. So if we can get it done with Mark, we'll definitely be sharing that experience because he's trying hard to help us, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, for the out-of-state markets we look into, the purchase prices are lower, so they're able to accommodate with those lower loan amounts. I know we've kind of even gone under 50K in some instances. So that's
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And I think, you know, in the St. Louis market for us, our loans are about 50,000, maybe 52.5, something like that. But they haven't done lower than that. I think I heard him talk about some that were 35, but of course the terms are different, right? It might be more expensive to do a loan that small because not everybody does them. They don't make a lot of money on those little tiny loans. So you have to just, once you see that you can be approved, just check those numbers and make sure it's not costing you too much for what your goals are.
And Dion has it right because he said for the larger purchases, the closing costs are usually a percentage lower. But for us, with the smaller loans, what we've seen is the percentages for the closing costs are much higher. And I know for Pittsburgh, they got the transfer taxes added in there too. So I'm looking at 8,000 a pop. I don't know what you're seeing on average for you.
Yeah, we were very close, 8, 9,000. And that was on purchasing between 70,000 and 100,000. So yeah, you and I had a conversation months ago about that. It's like, where are they getting these 1 or 2% numbers? It just doesn't add up. So, and that's something I'm happy to have learned over the course of time, right? Because in my head now, if we're able to buy something in the future, it probably will be a more expensive property, right? Probably a fourplex. We're looking at the Washington market now. So we'll see what happens there. But the financial education, the financial literacy that we've gained is so huge. We were talking a few minutes ago about mentorships, and you mentioned, you don't have to mention which one you were in, but you canceled one, right? And we've canceled one recently, or we didn't renew, I should say, um, because it didn't really fit our goals anymore. It did for the first few years, and we did get something out of it. We did, well, Cynthia and I did take action on what we learned from that group. And I think that's important too. Do you want to share why did you stop the one that you stopped?
Same, just to extract all the value out of it as you can, and then you evaluate it at the end where it's a subscription model. And I just thought about it, looked at it, and I said, I got as much value as I could out of it, got the resources, and I think I'm just gonna move on. But like we preach, it's the three amigos and their courses are the core foundation that we just can't get enough of with Matt's boot camps and Dion's course calls and his members meetings and Zuber, his school community and what he's doing for his courses as well. That's the foundational core basics that I keep on returning to.
Yeah, and the cost also, right? Theirs are very reasonable. All three of those, the one rental at a time, the lumberjacks course, the Dion's financial talk, or yeah, Dion, his course, they're all very reasonable. I think like Matt and the lumberjack boot camp, he goes for hours every time you guys meet. We were in it a couple of groups ago, and we went for 3 hours, at least 3 hours every Saturday or Sunday whenever we had class. So that is a lot of value. And I think the one that we let go cost us about 1,400 a year, but we got in, 5 years ago. Now it's a lot more than that. So I don't know if I would have gone in, at 3 or 4 or $5,000, whatever it is. We just don't have that kind of money. But we did take action. I think that's super important. That brings me up to another thought because in this community, there's a bunch of crazy people that love to join all the groups, be in on all the lives. In the school, on the school calendar, there's what, 8 or 9 accountability calls right now. And sometimes we'll see the same people in on every call. And I would just hope that they're not just there to listen, that they're learning something and they're starting to take action for themselves. Instead of being stuck in the analysis paralysis. Um, but I like seeing that it's a pretty active, very active community, and I know we learn a lot. There's a lot of much smarter people than I am in there. We joke about, the Gen Z call, for example, because I just joke that I'm too old for that group, but there are some smart young men leading that group, and I even learn a lot from them. Have you jumped in there yet on the Gen Z call?
I have once, and that's why I'm really looking forward to the daylight savings time because Hawaii doesn't recognize that. That will change the clock for me, and I'll be able to join a lot more easily. Usually, Mark calls me out all the time because I'm sleeping in a lot of his live streams, and but he's not changing. He's not changing that time. It's always gonna remain his Hawaii time.
Yeah, speaking of all the calls in school, a lot of folks out here are starting to do lives. I just saw Lindsay um, do a live this morning, and I think that's really great. I think Lindsay is very intelligent, and I think she can help a lot of people. I hope that takes off for them. I think they'll be trying to do Saturdays. I believe it was about 8:30 this morning, and so they'll try to be consistent about that. Getting back to the call and the highlights of our last Wednesday call, we did have one new person join us. Sean was from Arizona. I think he said Maricopa County. That he was talking about he and his wife just purchased their first investment property with a HELOC, and he was talking about some different options for that property. I think he said it should work as a long-term rental, but he was hoping to do something like rent by the room. And folks in there wondered if he had spoken to Jared yet, because Jared Oschenbein, who goes by REI Jared online, does rent by the room in that area. And he started on one platform, but he's switching it up a little bit. And he is actually looking for longer term tenants. I think he mentioned he had 1 or 2 that were going to be 12-month leases. Well, he calls them members, right? It's different than a tenant, and there's a reason for that. So if you don't know who Jared is, I would check into his channel if you're interested in doing rent by the room. It's REI Jared on YouTube.
It's good to see him speaking at the ORED event and Brandon too. It's good to see more people from the community being able to speak.
Yeah, and a lot of people gave Sean a lot of good feedback. He was asking questions about grading. Apparently, the property that he's in now gets a little bit of water too close to the house. So folks gave him some suggestions there. Curtis actually gave him a suggestion about his leases if he's going to rent by the room to try to stagger those by months. That way you don't have them all vacant at one time. I thought that was a great tip.
And Jim also talked about rental property mastery, Coach Carson's program, and just got the email. A few spots opened up, but he highly recommended it. He loves it. I know he's taken a lot of the courses, and I think the first year is 3K and the second year is 2K. But Mark has had other investors on his channel talk highly of that program. I know Sarah Bloom. And Aaron Amin is a teacher in that too.
Yeah, I think Aaron Amin is a really great resource. He has a lot of knowledge, and you and I both followed him for a while in the St. Louis market, or not St. Louis specifically, but in the Midwest. He and his partner both started there, and Aaron and his wife are going on to some bigger and better things. I wonder, maybe you could share your thoughts about how, we started following, just take them for example, we started following them because they were doing what we were interested in doing. And now that they're switching it up and they're going to be building, is it like senior care living or mental health care living facilities for folks? What do you think about that? I wonder, I don't know, like I kind of was left dangling. I know they're here for us if we have questions about what they were doing, but now that they're doing something else and it's something that I would never aspire to do, what are your thoughts?
I still like the evergreen content more. When it gets more specific and niche down, that's when I kind of take a step back and I rather focus on the more evergreen stuff, like how Dion always talks about. So that's what I normally do.
Okay, that's good, and it kind of leads me into, um, well, our call was a lot of time spent on the lending questions, but you know, in my head, I go all over the place, but I do have some random thoughts that I might like to get your feedback on. And that the mentorships and the courses and things were something I was thinking about because when we when we just first get started, we're so excited and we're taking in all the content we can find. For me, it was obviously real estate investing and financial literacy, just to help us in our situation to have a better future, whatever that looks like. And as time goes on, now we're in it for 5 years, I find myself not unsubscribing, but I would say not listening to as much as I used to because maybe we're far enough in our journeys that we've heard all that before and we don't need to hear it again, at least right now. So I watch a lot less content. I'm really selective about what I watch. I just put out a video talking about this exact thing, and the video is called Wasted Time. So I have to say, as we get older, our time is even more precious, right? So I'm hoping we help people to think about things in a way that they'll think about their future, not just being in the moment. I know that's important to enjoy what you're into right now and enjoy your time with your friends and family right now. But you also need to consider how things are going to be when you get older. It might give you a different point of view. Have you have you cut down on the content you take in or the types of content you take in?
I I think the meetings I've more scaled back. A lot of times in the morning, the first thing I do is try to do real estate. I try to get all that out of the way, and then I go to work. And then after I come back, then it's just the other stuff, the more smaller, minimal stuff. But I think in when I first started, I was flipping that where I would go to work and then at the end of the day, I do all the real estate stuff. But I don't think I had enough focus to really pay attention to the real estate stuff. So that's when I kind of rearranged things. And I think it's better how I'm doing it now. I don't know what your timeline is in terms of priorities for management of real estate.
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned, the school calendar earlier is very full. I I very rarely jump in there to attend different meetings. I do try to, like the financial firefighter, it looks like he's here. Um, I try to join his stuff as much as I can. There are a few things that I'm not really interested in, um, but I still try to support what he's doing because he's helped us so much. And he's joking about me putting on my face. That was I guess I didn't think he would know what it meant because he's not as old as I am. But back in the day, like especially with the women, they wouldn't go outside until they put on their face, right? They put on their makeup and they did their hair. And he was joking with me this morning about the Gen Z call. I told him I hadn't put on my face yet. So he says I still look the same. It looks like I didn't put on my face yet, but um, I got to give him some ammunition once in a while so he has something to do. We we try to look the best we can, and in some cases that's not a very big improvement, but I do try to jump on his stuff, like I was saying, as much as I can. I like he has some guests on there doing fractional investing, which I think is not for me. There was we were talking about that because some people say fractional investing is a way for investors to get started and start to learn, but I disagree because I don't think that gives a person the right training to become a landlord, right? They're not going to get that until they buy a property and become a landlord for themselves. I think maybe it's for someone who wants passive income or to be investing passively because they don't have to deal with all the headaches. I don't think it's a good training ground for regular landlords. Some of the other random thoughts, I was well, I wasn't doom scrolling, but I was scrolling, and I got to thinking, is clicking the like button enough, right? When people watch my videos and hit the like button, that's always nice. And I ask them, now I've been asking them regularly, if it brings value or if you got entertained at all, hit the like button, maybe subscribe if you want to go that step further. But do you think, have you ever thought about that? Hitting the like button versus actually taking some time to make a comment on what you just saw?
I do. I try to comment as much as I can, but with Zuber, it is impossible. I can't. It's so hard. So much. Yeah, he is the hammer. So of course I can. But I always try to comment on Dion's live streams and Matt's live streams and always the work band confessions. Those bring great value to me. But you really appreciate when someone takes time out of their day. I know you got a text about one of the videos you did, and there's just maybe a saying you heard or something from the meeting pops up that you can relay in one of our videos, and that resonates with them through a time that they're going through. And that's why I really like a book. As you're investing, it won't hit you until you're actually in it. And then it will have such a bigger change on you because you've changed as a person, as an investor. And that's what I really like. As time moves and as your journey moves, there'll be a piece of content that really resonates with you and makes you open your eyes and see, oh, this is what it's about. And I know we've had talks where we'll be in Dion's course call, he'll drop something on us, and you'll be thinking about it for several days. I don't know if you could recollect a time that had happened or maybe a concept that he shared with you that really resonated with you.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I did a video on it yet, but one of the things that I'll never forget is that one of the things that got us started with the channel, uh, we were having a conversation and I'm not sure if he said it or it just popped into both our heads at the same time, but like if we don't leave a digital footprint, were we ever really here? You know, people in my generation, we had photo albums and diaries and things like that that you leave behind, and your children or whoever can go back and see what you were thinking at any given time. But that was what originally sparked the thought of doing a channel. And then at the same time, Dion and Zuber were encouraging people to do a channel because, especially when you get to my age, they say you've lived and learned and you know so much more by this time. Hopefully, you're responsible with your knowledge and sharing it. But that just motivated me even more to get rolling. And I think you were referencing what we talked about, a video I was watching that the person was saying to keep going, creating content, even if you don't have a lot of subscribers or you're not getting a lot of likes or whatever, because, and especially family and friends, you probably won't get any comments from, sometimes because they're jealous because of your success, things that you're doing to improve your life, but just to keep going because what you're saying might hit some person someday and make a difference in their lives. And that was another reason we started a channel, right? To not just in real estate, to help people understand what we're going through and help them avoid some of those things that we've experienced, pitfalls, you might say. But all these random things that we talk about too, right? Somebody might hear it and say and think about it differently, and it might really help them a lot. So we'll keep going. Let me see here. And we were talking about mentors, and ours big mentors are, of course, Dion, the lumberjack, Matt Hawkins, and Zuber. And I don't know if it's just me or if you've noticed a little bit of a change in some of the stuff that they're putting out these days. But it seems like a couple of the videos are more emotional and more of a reflection on their life, a little bit more passion in what they're saying. And I wonder if it's because of their age. They're not old by any means, but they heard something that made them start reflecting on their lives. And I think about that too because, again, I think I'm 10 or so years older than Dion, and I talk about all this crazy stuff, but hopefully it will make someone think and they can change things for themselves, either thinking, I want to be like that guy, or I definitely don't want to be like that guy, right? So, have you noticed? I think the last one was Dion because he was really speaking from his heart, on one of his last videos and about something that bothers him. And I don't think I'd seen that before.
I liked in the live they did with Dion did with Mike,
Mhm.
and then Mike had shared, I guess off to the side, Dion said, once you hit time freedom, because I think Mike is close, he doesn't have to send the Pink Panther memes to him anymore. He was saying we gotta help the people, like we gotta help more people. And I think when they went to the Bigger Pockets event, that was a good realization. They wanna, because Zuper was sharing his algorithm with Coach Carson's, and there was like no overlap with Bigger Pockets.
Mhm.
And I really respect that because they just want to try to help as much people as possible. And I wouldn't have started without ORAT and this community when I had Bigger Pockets and I was listening to them because we talked about this too. I've had Bigger Pockets all this time, but I really didn't take action until I met everyone here and the three amigos and Mike.
Yeah, you make me think. The other morning, I was listening to Matt, the lumberjack landlord, and he was saying that he wants to be on Bigger Pockets. And I don't know what I thought the first time I heard that, but then as he explained why, it kind of tied into what Zuber was saying about not being recognized, right? And Matt was saying he wants to be on Bigger Pockets because he wants to expose more people to the one rental at a time community. Because I think what he said was at BPCon, he saw a lot of people who had not taken action, and BP Bigger Pockets is huge. It seems like there would have been more doers, more action takers, which is what we totally see in the one rental at a time community. I can't remember, it's been quite a while since I heard anyone say they didn't have a property yet. That's not important, but in itself, but they're in the right place. And we'll see, in a year or so, what they've done to help themselves. I'm sure there are people that are going to fall out, thinking that it's a little bit too difficult or it's not for them. But, you and I were just talking, and I told you it was hard for me to make my last video. I haven't posted it yet, but I will post it. It's what I would call a lot of ugly. And even that we're 5 years in, and to have this happen last week, I wouldn't say it, I wouldn't say it almost knocked us out of the game, made us want to quit. Well, I can only speak for myself. Um, Cynthia obviously brings a different perspective. She's stronger than I am. I guess if anybody, let's see, I'll try to post that. I'll try to edit it and post it this weekend. But if you're interested, I think the title of that one will be "Should We Just Quit?" So watch out for that one. Hopefully, it helps someone. Um, and like you and I were talking, I mean, we started as saying we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, I think I need to honor my word and keep that going.
Yeah, that's a must watch. I'm really not looking forward to it, but it's something that it's incredible that you're sharing because I even asked you offline, you're really gonna share that? Because I was shocked but interested to hear what other people's feedback is and how they would approach that. Because even me, I had questions on how you kind of thought that over and processed all the stuff that went down. And it was
Yeah.
just a week in 1 week.
Yeah. It was a lot for 1 week. What else?
And
I
and
did
people
you have,
hitting time freedom. Kyle Dorn, he dropped a $99 super chat on Lumberjack's live stream saying that he sold his trucking company and hit time freedom. I know Millennial Mike, it sounded like he's closer than I realized. It sounds like he's almost there too. And I know Mark, Financial Firefighter, he's getting really close. But it just makes me happy because the more people that can reach time freedom and then we have receipts for the doomers, the more receipts for the doomers, the better, and can show like what this community is about.
yeah, that's right. And it's a race to the finish line. It'll be exciting to see who gets there first, but especially exciting when they all get there. You made me think of something, but I forgot what that was. Hopefully, it'll come back. I I was going to mention you and I were also talking a few minutes ago about. So I joke about being technologically challenged, right? This is, I think, our third week that we've been able to go live, and I'm super thankful. I'm learning a little bit more each week. But you mentioned that you got to use Zelle for the first time recently, and why did you need to use it?
It was for downspouts On a single family home, it was 60 feet of downspouts. That was $904. So they gave the check option, the Zelle option, or credit card, which was a 3% fee. And we're going back and forth because I wasn't getting pictures. And I said, I just need the pictures. And as soon as I get the pictures, I can pay you. And I was thinking it took one day, following up the second day, then the third day, finally got everything. And it was concern over nothing. So I'm glad. And I shared with the pictures with you. And I was kind of checking with handyman and you and other contractors. And they thought that was a reasonable price. So I'm glad the work showed up as it did, and it was fast, quick, and easy. I went through Ally Bank, because I like their buckets, their savings buckets. So, and even you have it on lock too. You know it really well because you used it with different taco vendors or food vendors you were sharing.
Yeah, I gotta buy those tacos. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm great at it yet, but it was confusing. I shared a story with you. We have a friend who started selling tacos on the weekends, and he's a excuse me, he's the son of a very good friend, and he has his stand set up, and he has his page on his table where they take the money, and it had options to pay, and Zelle was one of them. So, I needed the tacos, so I had to learn how to do Zelle. But you make me think about also um, the thought that we don't need our wallets anymore, right? I was in the store and I forgot my wallet. And I told the clerk, I said, I'll be back. I forgot my wallet. And they said, well, can't you pay with your phone? I'm like, what? What do you mean pay with my phone? He goes, yeah, don't you have Google Pay or Apple Pay or whatever? I said, I'm not rich enough for an iPhone, so how do I do it with my Android? So he showed me, and you know, somehow credit cards were stored in my phone, and I was able to pay for my weekly beer run. I guess I should say it's okay to say that, but yeah, still learning stuff. Not too old, so that was exciting.
I don't like how Venmo is like a social media thing where you can see what you're paying. It's weird. It's friends can also see what you're buying and paying for too. I don't know why they do that.
Yeah, Venmo is weird like that. I don't know if Cash App is the same, but I've paid some of our subs in St. Louis through Cash App. They like Cash App. Um, And I'm really surprised it's still free because it's not, I mean, it is tied to your bank, but not like Zelle. I think that's all my crazy thought notes. Is there anything else that you'd like to cover that I haven't?
Dion did mention his financial freedom for the lazy person cruise. Norwegian Cruise Lines on the Encore, June 21st to 28th. At the contact for that is Stephanie Garcia, 954-618-5917. Will you be going on the Financial Freedom for the Lazy Person cruise next year?
Oh, I don't think Cynthia and I would be able to go. It sounds like a really good time. A few of the people in the group are trying to go. I know Charles mentioned that he and his wife are looking forward to going. Um, Quite a few other people. I don't know too many people that can take a week off. Um, but it does sound exciting. I had spoken to Dion about that before because eventually I'd like to go on a cruise to Alaska with Cynthia because that's one of her dreams. Um, so what do you think? Do you think you'll take advantage of it?
I don't think I can make it, but I hope there's a lot of recaps of that. Because like Dion said, the first day is you're kind of meeting each other, getting to know each other, but then it's the following days where you really start diving in, understanding your portfolio, what you're trying to do, your end goals. And then even Jim had said in a meeting, it'll be a great write-off too, because that's all. It'll be heavily real estate and just leveling each other up. That'll
Yeah,
be
I
a
think
great opportunity for those that can make it. Oh, sorry.
no, that's a good point. And two, I mean, for some of us, I think the ORAD event too could be mostly written off, right? Because that's all real estate talk. And I think for anybody that's doing YouTube or that kind of stuff, that could kind of encompass the whole trip if you make videos while you're there.
Sorry, can I bring up tacos again? You know the double shell taco
Hmm.
is one of those shells you drop and then all the leftover meat that falls in onto the plate, is that for the other shell of the taco, or do you eat the taco with both shells for the soft taco?
Yeah, if like in some places they do serve them on two corn tortillas. Um, some people do it like you said. Sometimes they're so juicy because the tortillas are
Mm.
freshly warmed and stuff that it will go through a single tortilla. So yeah, for that, I mean, for me, I'll usually just get a fork if I because there is nothing left. Trust me. But um, I thought you were I thought you were referencing because Taco Bell makes you know, so they'll have a crispy tortilla on the outside and they'll have a soft tortilla on the inside. And I've never tried those, but um, it's an interesting concept because they even make them out of like um, what are they? Nacho, the tortilla chips, the
Oh, the
Doritos,
Doritos?
the
Oh,
Doritos. Yeah, they'll
mm.
make a Doritos taco shell. All that stuff doesn't seem very healthy when you think about it, but some days you just need that. I think, and not all places are good. You know, we're in Watsonville. You would think there's so many Mexicans here that there would just be places. The place would be flooded with great restaurants, but out of all the Mexican restaurants here, I would say there's maybe three or four that we frequent. The food's really good. And some of them, and just because it's like Mexican food, it's not all from the same place. It's not all cooked the same way. Uh, some because they're all um, like in Mexico, there's different areas, right? If you're on the coast, they do things a certain way because there's a lot of seafood and they cook it a certain way versus some places inland. And there's so many different ways. So there's like Salvadoran food, different things like that. And a lot of it is good. Sometimes they just get a little bit too far out there for me, but we have our favorite places. We got to meet, I don't know, I haven't seen Casey Chan for a while, but he came to our area to have lunch with us one time at one of our favorite restaurants. And um, that was a really good time. He enjoyed the food there. Were there any questions in the
There's some great comments. And it's all about just keeping that drive, even when even when you're hit with challenges, just keep going.
I appreciate that. Yeah, and that's our thought. I think, you know, Mikey, you and I just talked about that situation, and one of our thoughts was to sell that property that this all happened to. Um, so this coming week, we'll be able to explore our options. Uh, it would be it would be nice to be able to pay for all the repairs and keep going, but you never know if something else is going to happen before you get a tenant in the house, right? And hopefully nothing would happen once you get a tenant in the house. So those are things that we have to think about. If we sell it, we could pay off a lot of the credit card debt that we built up, keeping the properties going over the year. And so we'll see. Maybe next week we could get a little bit deeper on it and let people know which direction we're heading in. But like you and I talked about also, there's things happening, bad things happening with a couple properties, but we still have 8 units that are working. So um, we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, Zuber and Cody did a video, and Cody was looking at a property, but he said no. And I wanted to talk with you about the power of no, because when Zuber saw that, he said the old Cody, the Cody just starting out, would have said yes and would have bought that.
Mm.
So as Zuber said, he could see the maturation, and it was he likes seeing that maturation. And even in the accountability meeting, Alex had talked with Christian, and even Christian said he's going more towards a Dion style of portfolio. And I know Cody is right sizing and kind of leaning more towards Dion style. So it is interesting how bigger investors they can change things up and get more refined and more smaller as they go and they have experience.
Yeah. Do you think that because in all the cases you just talked about, those people started out great and they went through challenges, and I think if they hadn't gone through challenges, their mindset might not have changed, at least as quickly as it did. I mean, 4 or 5 years isn't quick, but they are realizing, just like any of us realize, you know, we bought all these units, didn't even think about stabilization. That wasn't in my mind at first. Um, but now we see, and stuff happens. So you kind of maybe reconfigure what you're doing, or approach it differently with the next purchase or things like that. But we also talked about, and that kind of coincides with trying to help younger people these days realize that they need to save for their future, because the economy isn't guaranteed to be what it is today. But unless they've gone through struggles, they don't have any motivation to learn to help themselves. It's kind of the same thing. Luckily, most of the people in this community are smart enough to not make the same mistakes over and over again, and they, if they've gotten started in buying properties, they have a new knowledge and they have more options to be able to pivot and keep going, instead of things just blowing up and either they give up or they are forced to get out because they made some really bad decisions.
Yeah, when I was first buying, I shared that home inspection with you. And after we went through it, you said, I wouldn't buy that, but I bought it. And now looking back, I don't think I would have bought it, knowing what I know now.
Mm.
But that's just some of the, like Mark says, some of the lumps you take, some of the growing pains you have to go through. But then when I brought that duplex to you, the side by side, and we went over that home inspection, and I misjudged the numbers in the rehab. You said I wouldn't buy this, and I didn't. And I'm so happy I listened to you, because I still would have been going through that one now. And I just waited, and something else popped up that worked out better. And I think that was a better decision.
Yeah, it is hard though, right? I mean, you're excited about getting the next property, or not just you, but so many other people that we've seen in the community. And we talked about how a lot of people don't hear that. A lot of people don't, even though like we're a prime example of what could go wrong, and it would have been better for us to do it slower. Um, they just don't listen. They're too excited. They buy one and then they buy another one. We have other friends who, we're doing bought one and we're going to flip it. And while that flip was going on, they bought another one, another flip, totally lost out on the first one, right? Um, and it was a pretty horrible experience. Now they know. So, like Dion and a few others were saying, buying a property instead of buying a mentorship is probably a better education. So it might hurt, but you'll learn way more that way, and it'll help you in the future.
I did like Zuber. He said it's a drip, then a stream, then a raging river. That stuck with me.
Mhm.
It just takes time.
Yeah. Well, I think we're just about done for today. Was there any comments that we should address?
Yeah, a lot of good comments. I just if there's anyone else watching that is on the fence about investing in real estate, you have any questions, reach out to Old Guy REI. He'll set you straight. We have a great community here, one rental at a time. Dion Talk Financial Freedom, Lumberjack Landlord, Financial Firefighter, so many. So Jack's Business Talk, so many people you can reach out to that will help you get started. Just keep on, yeah, just keep on investing and trying to build up that time freedom because that's the end goal.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great way to close today. And like you said, I mean, the school is only $20 a month. I believe Mark still has his invitation open for folks that want to try it for a month. He will actually reimburse them for the first month, so it's free for 1 month. And if you don't like it, you don't have to continue. But and it's nice that it's not an annual subscription, right? I think that makes it pretty tempting to see what and how people respond to any newcomers, right? They're so welcoming, but you gotta ask your questions. You gotta, like I always say, give everybody as much information as possible to give you suggestions to help your situation. I almost forgot one thing, and Mark helped us last time I was on a live with him, and he helped us sell a few more shirts. Actually, five. We got 5 orders for T-shirts, but I wanted to thank those who ordered, and also if they do order a shirt, to please put in the size that they need. We got a few orders and it didn't specify what size, but right now we still have some mediums, some larges, a few extra large. We have some double X and one triple X. So hopefully whoever orders will fall into those categories. We don't have any, or we never did have any super small for Mark, so I don't think he got his yet. We were going to see if they could make a specially small one for him.
Oh, and 30 years as a general contractor, anybody that has questions or needs advice for any type of work, always can reach out to Frank. I've done it multiple times, too many, I think. I've probably exhausted my my requests. But even in the Wednesday accountability group that you host on the school community, but you even started before that, that's available to multiple contractors on there. And that's one of my weaknesses. I don't really understand cost and the work that is needed for that. But you've recommended this old house, so that's helped me. But any type of questions, I know people can reach out to you.
Yeah, and there's so much available on YouTube. If you just pop your question in there, that several videos will come up on how to do this or that, or how things are done to help you understand maybe if you're getting an estimate for a roof or you need some plumbing repairs or whatever it might be. But yeah, certainly people are welcome to get a hold of me anytime. And you have unlimited access, so don't worry about that.
Oh,
Okay, well, we're gonna, I guess, try to figure out how to shut this down.
where's that ever elusive button?
Yeah,
It's always running around.
that's part of the learning. So I'm gonna stop the recording and then we'll see.
All right, thanks everyone.
Yeah, thanks everybody for jumping in. We appreciate it. And we'll try to do this again next Saturday. Still.
I think we'll have a blooper section.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we should.
Just trying to find the button.
That'll take an hour
It's
in
there
itself.
somewhere.
Okay, I think we're off.
Yeah, we're still on, I think. I can end this.
Basic says we're still on. Okay, I'm gonna close.